This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from October 18th to October 20th of 2024. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, look, we have great news. We have terrific news, wonderful news. This Friday, we will be bringing back the US Men's National Team Abroad midweek recap. Okay, on Friday we're gonna recap the Americans that play abroad, that play in the Champions League, Europa League. I know there's some EFL Championship games as well. So essentially this week we have 2 US Men's National Team Abroad episodes. You're welcome. Now, before we start, I would like to quote a former viewer of the channel. I used to call him JFK, and unfortunately he was murdered a few years ago, and this is what he used to say, and quote him: "Ask not what Tactical Manager can do for you, but what you can do for Tactical Manager." And you know what you can do for Tactical Manager? You can hit the like button and help us hit 1,000 likes in this video. It helps us a lot. I appreciate it, and I thank you very much. And this video is brought to you by SoulRare, but more on that later. There will be a link in the description with a special offer with $50 in credit if you use it, but we'll explain what's SoulRare later in the video. If you like fantasy sports, it's probably for you. With that said, let's play the intro and start the episode. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. And the 2 players that we always start with are Matt Turner and Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. But Crystal Palace plays this Monday, so you know the drill. If Matt Turner for some miracle plays, because he's always on the bench, let us know in the comment section down below. As for Chris Richards, he will not be available for Crystal Palace this Monday because he's still currently injured. He's expected to be back at some point in November. He's also questionable for the US Men's National Team camp mid-November. So let's skip on the Crystal Palace boys and talk about Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob started and played the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 3-1 loss to Aston Villa. I wasn't able to watch this game, but based on the highlights, so take that with a grain of salt, A-Rob didn't really do much on offense. But at the same time, he was not at fault for any of the goals that Fulham conceded. But again, I didn't watch the game, so I cannot comment on the overall performance of the player. Next up is Tyler Adams from Bournemouth, and he's back. On Saturday, Tyler Adams was back from injury for Bournemouth, and he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes during their 2-0 win over Arsenal. Yes, Bournemouth beat Arsenal. Whether he played or not is not really relevant here. What matters is that Tyler Adams is back, and hopefully this time he stays healthy for an extended period of time. The last game he played was actually for the US Men's National Team over the summer against Uruguay when we were eliminated in the Copa America. It's been a rough few seasons for Tyler Adams, so let's keep our fingers crossed and pray, hoping that now he stays healthy for an extended period of time. At least 12 months, or maybe not even 12 months, maybe forever. I know players get injuries here and there, minor injuries, that's fine, but hopefully he doesn't get any other long-term injury that keeps him out for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay, time to leave England and go to Italy so we can talk about the Americans that play in the Serie A. The first 2 being Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Saturday, a very well-rested Christian Pulisic started and played the full 90 minutes for Milan during their 1-0 win over Udinese. A very dramatic 1-0 win. It was a grind, but again, a win is a win. And listen, I made the very well-rested snarky comment for a reason. Unfortunately, it was mainly directed at Tim Howard and Alexi Lalas for trying to draw attention to themselves by being overly critical over absolutely nothing. They were complaining about Christian Pulisic heading home early from the US Men's National Team camp. But again, Pulisic heading early to Italy this past camp was 100% the right call. It was a friendly match, a meaningless friendly match against Mexico. He was able to reduce his travel time by not traveling from St. Louis to Guadalajara, then back to Italy. He went straight to Italy from St. Louis. He rested for an entire week. Plus, we have 2 big games against Jamaica coming up in November that actually matter. They're competitive games, and we need Pulisic to be fresh, not injured, healthy, and in form. And I also must add, he has a tough stretch of games for Milan. Sometimes load management is needed and justified, and that was one of them. We need to keep Pulisic fresh, in form, and healthy. I think it's mainly because Pochettino is in charge, so the mainstream media guys will be much more critical about everything, unlike the Berhalter era. If this happened under Greg Berhalter, they would literally be saying that Berhalter was looking after the player. And it's a bit sad to see Tim Howard, a player that I very much adored, right? One of my favorite players of all time, kind of go the Alexi Lalas route, but it is what it is. Now, back to the game. Christian Pulisic was great once again. He looked sharp on the ball, was goal dangerous, and got the assist for this 1-0 win. He received the ball at the edge of the box and placed a clever and precise pass with his left foot to set up Chukwueze and score. He started the game playing as a 10, then after Reinders got a red card in the first half, Pulisic played a few minutes as a central midfielder. Then in the second half, he played at times as a left winger, mainly as a left winger, but then he would drift to the right wing at times. Essentially, he was all over the place. In those 90 minutes, Christian Pulisic went through more positions than a horny couple with the Kama Sutra book. In the second half, Christian Pulisic hit a shot on target that was saved, a moment in which he showed a ton of composure and technical ability in the box to even get that shot off. In my opinion, Christian Pulisic was the man of the match. He managed to contribute on both ends, the defensive end and up top, even getting an actual assist that led to the win. Christian Pulisic now has 7 goals and 2 assists this season across all competitions with 10 games played. He has got a goal contribution in the last 7 games, 7 consecutive games for Milan in the Serie A. Pulisic is actually the only player to do so this season in all top 5 leagues to get a goal contribution for 7 consecutive games. As for Yunus Musa, he started off the bench and was subbed in at halftime to strengthen the midfield due to Reinders getting a red card. So Musa played as a central midfielder and he was okay. He had some good moments, a few bad ones. He was just the Musa that we have seen for quite some time. He can dribble into space to progress the ball forward in the midfield, and he can do some of the dirty work, but then he doesn't really offer much more on and off the ball. But enough of the Milan boys. Now let's talk about the Americans that play for Juventus. And they are Weston McKennie and Tim Weah. And on Saturday, Weah started off the bench and was sent in the 54th minute for Juve during their 1-0 win over Lazio. This was Weah's first game back from injury. As for Weston McKennie, he was still not available as he is dealing with a minor muscle injury. It seems like it's mainly fatigue. You know, they're just not risking it. He should be fine. He's even expected to be back during the midweek in the Champions League or maybe next weekend, so within the next 7 days or so. My point? Weston McKennie is expected to be back soon. There's no major injury and he should be in the US men's national team November camp. Next up we have Gianluca Busio from Venezia. And on Sunday, Busio started off the bench and was subbed in at halftime for Venezia during their 2-0 loss to Atalanta. He was likely benched this weekend due to travel and the international break. Then he was sent in right away at halftime when Venezia was down 1-0. I would fully expect Busio to start for Venezia next weekend. Let's put it this way. The odds of Busio starting for Venezia next weekend are roughly the same as Venezia getting relegated. They're high. Alright, now before we continue, a very quick word from the sponsor of this video, SoRare. After all, someone has to pay Tactical Manager's rent. We'll be back in 1 minute. Do you collect sports cards? Do you play fantasy sports? Yes, no, maybe? If you said yes to any of that, I got something for you. And if you said no, you might still want to stick around. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up with SoRare with a special offer. The link will be in the description. In SoRare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. And then you may be asking, why would I want to collect virtual cards? Well, you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week. And if your players perform in real life, you can win actual money, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your own club. And you can also get unique experiences like a friend of the channel, Fiago, that got to meet Zinedine Zidane. You know what's also cool? They also have the NBA and Major League Baseball. I'm mainly gonna just stick to soccer, but you do you. What I really like about SoRare before we even partnered with them is that they're unlike other fantasy games where you have to pay per play. In SoRare, you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards, and then you can play multiple times using those same cards, at least until the player retires, win rewards if your players perform in real life. You can also buy undervalued player cards for cheap, then hold, use them in the future when they improve or develop, and then you can even sell that card when its value goes up for better ones. Or just keep the money yourself. If you sign up with the link in the description of this video, you will get $50 in credit to buy your first cards. Again, the link will be in the description. Use that link to make sure you get the special offer. Play with responsibility. All right, enjoy. Okay, thank you very much, So Rare. Now we're going to cover the Americans that play in Germany in the Bundesliga. The first one, I want to give a shout out to Noah Kai Banks, the 17-year-old center back that plays for Augsburg. He made the bench for them for the very first time due to an injury crisis. However, he is with the US men's national team U20s. He is super talented. He is a ball-playing defender, and considering the fact that we don't have much depth at the center back position, I mean, we were just playing Mexico and we literally started Miles Robinson and an ancient Tim Ream. So again, this is a player to watch out for. He didn't play for Augsburg, but he made the bench. That's good news. Next up would have been Gio Reyna from Borussia Dortmund, but again, he's still injured, not expected to be back till late November, at the earliest, probably December. But Cole Campbell, the 18-year-old American winger, continues to make the bench for Dortmund. Still hasn't played any pro minutes for them yet, but he is making the bench for Dortmund. That is good news. But now, let's talk about an American that is actually Gio Reyna's best friend. And his name is Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach and Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim, because Gladbach and Heidenheim clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Joe Scally started as a left back and played 89 minutes for Gladbach during their 3-2 win over Heidenheim. I watched the first half of this game and I thought Scally was playing fine. He was doing okay, above average to the very least. He was caught a bit high up the field during their mid-block in the first goal, but at the same time, that wasn't really on him. As for Leonard Maloney, he started as a central midfielder in a double pivot for Heidenheim, and he played the full 90 minutes. After that, it would have been Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, but this dude is still injured. He'll be back one day. Like they said he was going to be back mid-September. October is almost over, and he's still not back. Apparently, it's an ankle injury. Now we're done with the Americans in Germany. We're gonna go to Spain, actually, to La Liga, for the Americans that play in La Liga, as I kind of already said it. The first one would have been Luca De La Torre, but he's also injured. Also, I think, with an ankle injury, and he hasn't played a single minute this season for Celta Vigo. Actually, he hasn't even made the bench for Celta Vigo this season. So we're gonna skip on Luca De La Torre. I'm pretty sure he's gonna leave Celta Vigo in January, but we'll talk about that in the next few months. So let's talk about Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Real Betis during their 2-1 win over Osasuna. Johnny played very well. He didn't look rusty at all. He was rock solid on defense, did okay on the ball, and was actually consistently hacked throughout the game. He got fouled a lot. I believe they just thought Johnny was Shaq with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, so the guy just kept getting hit left and right. But overall, very good performance from Johnny. Now we have the Americans that play in France, that play in Ligue 1. You know, the one with the marbles stuck up your throat. The first player would have been Fullerton Balogun from Monaco, but due to the dislocated shoulder, which apparently was a nasty one, he's supposed to be out for 2 months. It's already late October, so if you take that into consideration, he is pretty much done for 2024. He'll either be back close to Christmas or early 2025, and that's the bad news on Balogun. That was just catching form, right? He scored for 3 consecutive games, and then he had the dislocated shoulder. So let's skip on Balogun and talk about Caleb Wiley from Strasbourg that is actually also injured. He's dealing with a knee tendonitis. When will he be back? I don't freaking know. So we're going to skip on him as well, and then we're going to go talk about Mark McKenzie from Toulouse. And if you haven't noticed, yes, there still are plenty of Americans that are injured. But let's talk about Mark McKenzie. And on Sunday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 1-1 draw with Angers. Now, McKenzie did give away a penalty kick, but lucky for him, his goalkeeper saved it. One thing that is important to note is that McKenzie was actually very busy on the ball, completing 75 passes throughout the game. Pochettino likes ball-playing defenders. McKenzie continues to show that he can sorta be that, right? A ball-playing defender. He's also capable of dribbling into space to a certain extent. So he might be one of the center backs that Pochettino might really rate. He did start the first game against Panama, and he was going to start against Mexico, but then he had some muscle discomfort. But watching him play in France leads me to believe that he will get a lot of opportunities with Mauricio Pochettino. Last but not least, in France, we have Tanner Tessman from Lyon. And on Sunday, Tessman started off the bench and, stay there the full 90 minutes during Lyon's 4-0 win over Le Havre. Emmanuel Sabi came off the bench for Le Havre around minute 65 during this loss, in case you care. Next up are the Americans that play in the Netherlands in the Eredivisie. And if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to hit the like button right now. I truly appreciate it and it helps the channel quite a bit. So why don't we start the PSV boys? Malik Tillman, Serginho Dest, that's injured, obviously still recovering from the torn ACL, Ricardo Pepi, and Richie Ledesma. And on Saturday, no Americans started for PSV, which is an odd feeling, right? When was the last time that happened? I actually don't remember. It's been a while. No Americans started for PSV. Let that sink. Ever since Ernie Stewart became their sporting director, I don't think that even happened. But Tillman, he started off the bench, as I said, and he was sent in around minute 63. Ricardo Pepi was subbed in around minute 78, and Richie Ledesma actually stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. PSV has a Champions League game during the midweek. I would expect Malik Tillman to start for them right there. But then again, on Friday, we will be doing the USMNT Abroad midweek update or recap, so we'll keep you posted on that this Friday. I wouldn't expect Pepi to start the Champions League game, but I'm expecting Tillman to do so, but we'll talk about that on Friday. Next up, we have other Americans that play in the Eredivisie, and there are two of them, Taylor Booth and Paxton Aronson, that play for Utrecht. And on Sunday, Paxton Aronson started and played the full 90 minutes as a midfielder for Utrecht during their 1-0 win over Groningen. As for Taylor Booth, he started off the bench and was subbed in around minute 63. What Paxton Aronson is doing ain't easy. He's starting in the midfield and playing well for the second best team in the Eredivisie. I'm not saying he's our savior, far from that. He has a lot to prove. But maybe, just maybe, Pochettino should give Paxton Aronson a look. Okay, now let's go back to England and talk about the Americans that play in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 1-1 draw with Stoke City. Sargent got a Jassy Zardes-like assist. The ball literally blasted into Sargent's face and then landed for his teammate to score. He was credited the assist, but come on, let's be real. He essentially accidentally blocked his teammate's shot and it ended up landing to another teammate and he scored. I mean, sure, give him the assist, but it was accidental. I'm happy for Sargent, you know, it helps him stat pad, but it was more of an assist. Next up, we have Brendan Aronson from Leeds United. And on Friday, Aronson started and played 68 minutes for Leeds during their 2-0 win over Sheffield. And Brendan Aronson was very much Brendan Aronson, if that makes any sense. He was hectic, chaotic, heavily involved, all over the place, hustling, but not really leading to anything, just pure chaos. And honestly, he was quite wasteful. He had a few shots and he couldn't hit the target a single time. Leeds also literally scored a goal once he was subbed out. Both goals actually came after Aronson left the pitch. And you know, at times, Aronson does fine or even well in the EFL Championship with this chaos ball, right? Being hectic all over the place. This was not one of them. Yeah, most Americans didn't really do well in the second division of England this week. And I mean, Sargent was fine. The accidental assist is not his fault and his performance was okay. But most players didn't play well, including the next one we're going to talk about. And his name is Haji Wright from Coventry. And on Saturday, Haji started off the bench and was subbed in the 64th minute for Coventry during their 1-0 loss to Preston North End. Haji was really good for Coventry last season, but he's off to a rough start this year. Next up would have been Ethan Horvath, but he's still benched for Cardiff City, and I got nothing to say there. I mean, if you're going to be benched at Cardiff City, a team from Wales, the country, that is one of the worst teams in the EFL Championship, you might as well come to MLS and find a team that will actually play you and start you, you know, and come back home, come back to the United States. Regardless, let's skip on Ethan Horvath and talk about Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough. On Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played 74 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 2-0 loss to Bristol City. Honestly, it's quite remarkable that he started on Saturday and still played 74 minutes, considering he started both games for the US men's national team against Panama and against Mexico and played plenty of minutes, plus all the travel from Europe to St. Louis to Mexico, Mexico back to England. Quite remarkable. Now, the next player that I normally cover in the EFL Championship is Luca Coleosho, but he was once again with Italy's U21s. I think we're just going to stop covering Luca Coleosho until there's any evidence or signs that he is considering playing for the United States. So we're going to skip on Luca Coleosho. Also, it's not like he's been doing much in the EFL Championship. His numbers are similar to like Brendan Aronson. So we're going to skip on him. We're probably not going to be covering him until there's any sign that he wants to play for the US men's national team or that he is at least divided. It seems like he wants to play for Italy. And if he does play for Italy, I might start calling him Olive Garden. Still in the United Kingdom, we have the Americans that play in Scotland, and actually the ones that play for Celtic, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. And on Saturday, Trusty started and went the full 90 minutes for Celtic during their 2-2 draw with Aberdeen in the Scottish League. As for Cameron Carter-Vickers, he was still not available due to a toe injury, which makes me wonder what's wrong with his toe. If it's not broken, what's keeping him out? Is it an ingrown toenail? Like seriously, what's going on? And it's not the first time that Carter-Vickers is injured due to a toe injury. What is this guy doing with his toe? Is he banging his toe against the bed every single weekend and injuring it? I don't get it. Cameron Carter-Vickers might be back during the midweek in the Champions League, but even after the international break, 2 weeks that he rested his toe, he's still not back. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go if you made it this far in the video. Thank you very much, Soul Rare. If you want to play Soul Rare, the link is still in the description and you get $50 in credit if you use that link. Now I want to thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on Friday for the US Men's National Team Abroad midweek. Thanks for watching and have a great day.